and the most exciting session out here, हम लोगों ने मकर संक्रांति के दिन एक घोड़ा छोड़ा था, एक अश्वमेध यज्ञ का आयोजन करने का प्रयास किया कि भाई हाउ द इंडियन हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम इज थिंकिंग, what are the goals and challenges which this higher education system has placed in front of it, and how they are responding to the emerging global trends, the emerging global challenges, a lot of which has been talked this evening out here. We curated something called a campus preparedness survey. It was a 50-page odd booklet. It was sent across to the deck of 500 selected institutions across the country, and we get a significant response across all genres, IITs and ITs, OPIs, the private universities and the deemed universities, and also the group of institutions what Professor Khandal has been leading through, and a very wonderful pack of results we got in this undertaking. Now that those responses have come back, the Ghoda has returned back to the place from which it was launched, and we are now ready. We are all set to launch the findings of this mammoth survey. This mammoth survey had 50% subjective questions and 50% objective questions. I would just give you a glimpse of it, but for the ceremonial release of this Campus Preparedness Survey Report 2015, which in our humble opinion would certainly go a long way in really setting as a baseline understanding of the complex and convoluted nature of the Indian higher education system, which just cannot be led or deliberated with a single wand, with a single magic wand. It just cannot be led. We have to work on a really different out-of-the-box thinking approach, which all our panelists have been advocating. For the release of this report, I would request Professor R.K. Khandal, the guest of eminence for this evening, to please come on the dais. I would also request Mr. G.S. Malik to please come on the dais for this. I would request Mr. Jim Milton, initiated financially and also structurally in a big way. I would also request Professor Moni to also come on the dais. Sir, you can please take a seat. I will just make the formal arrangement. Yeah, Mr. Moni. Yeah. And I would also like to request Mr. Raj Mrityunjayappa to also join in for this. I need to just present to the entire dais for the unraveling of this Campus Preparedness Survey Report. A bit of a ceremony. We can all stand up and just do a photo op for this. I would also request my colleagues to just hand over the copies of it so that we all can release in one go by standing from the dais and off the dais. So I would just request my colleagues to just quickly distribute the booklets, the final Campus Preparedness Survey Report to all our audience out here. It should be released at the same moment. Just quickly, parallelly, just do it on the 3 plans. Yeah. Just quickly pass it on at once. So we can all, for this mark of this gigantic work which we have tried to do, let's all stand up and just release it. A self-release, a selfie, which has become a global phenomena these days. It has got into our dictionary purpose itself. So let our camera person capture this moment, this historical moment on the auspicious occasion of Mahavir Jayanti, where we, the higher education community of the country, has taken up the pledge to really understand our own problems and solving our own problems, as Professor Khandal has said, rather than going into the backyard of someone else. So it's a real moment of great satisfaction for the entire team at Engineering Watch and also at Campus Management Corp. I would like to put my deep acknowledgements at this occasion to Mr. Sai Narayan, who is the VP Marketing at the Campus Management Corp. Also my deepest acknowledgements to Mr. Devdutt Manai, Marketing Manager, whose exemplary faith, confidence and prodding helped us immensely to conceive, create and undertake this elaborate exercise of recording the footprints of campus preparedness of Indian campuses for global excellence. I would also like to put on record our deepest acknowledgements to Mr. Vinod John, who is the VP Sales at Campus Management Corp. He is a veteran in the space of empowering campuses to adopt enterprise-grade technologies as to what are the key drivers and triggers for technological adoption in India's higher technical education space, which became our central quest in curating this report. I request all of you to please take your seats I would take a bit of your time to just set the tone of this discussion of this session, which is the key challenges and challengers for the higher education industry in the country. Now, lot many things have been said, a lot many threads have really come across in this forum and all the forums. So please be seated. Yeah, please be seated. Yeah. So this last session it will be an open house once I present the key findings of this report. We had selected the key challenges and challengers. If you just come to page number 12 of this report, this gives the entire footprints of the entire respondent base, the north zone, the west zone, the south zone, the central zone and the east zone. And you will find that on a whole, we got IIT Ropar as a respondent, NIT Kurukshetra as a respondent from the north zone, and in the west zone we got great response from NIT Goa. From the eastern zone it was really terrific, and institutes of national importance were quite high in number. We got IIT Guwahati, NIT Rourkela, NIT Agartala, IIM Shillong, NIT Durgapur, NIT Sikkim and NIT Arunachal Pradesh. So entire deck of institutes of national importance from the northeast participated in this survey. From the central zone we got IIT Indore, IIT BHU and Delhi Technological University. We have with us this evening, I would also like to welcome So this had been our footprint, which on the responses of which this entire study was curated. The questions I told, it was a bulky 50-pager which many of you would have got, and the entire narrative got clubbed into thematics of institutional outreach, infrastructure, ranking, institutional revenue growth, faculty, placements, research, and the global emerging trends of delivery, the academic delivery models, operational efficiency, competition, how the campuses are seeing the competition to take them through, and governance. It's a very, very bulky report, and as Raj said earlier that it will certainly take 2 weeks at least to interpret it across. We have just put very small editorial commentaries on the footholds of it. I will just take you through some of the infographics which we have curated for this occasion. Just a moment. So we have also curated a website for this entire report. It will be a very interactive website and it will continue to flourish. It is campuspreparedness.in. It's all there in the footnotes across, and on this website the entire report can be viewed, and putting in things, the soft links of it can be downloaded as well. So that's a website which we have put up as a follow-up for this entire intellectual exercise. This is taking a bit of a time. So this was a footprint I was talking about. We could cover in fact the entire span of the country. The entire country was divided into 5 zones for the purpose of this study. So we have not ranked the institutions, we have simply asked the question. So Professor Khandal has always come to our rescue in such tough moments. So ranking is the rightful measure of institutional performance. You will see on page 30 of this report where this entire thematic has been covered. Now, as I said, that this entire report had half subjective questions and half objective questions. We didn't want any bucketization to happen, any preconceived notions to come through or preconceived answers to come from this report. It was a very open-ended kind of a intellectual exercise where institutions were free to speak out their opinions. You can see on this infographic which I show, which is at page number 30 as well, that institutions of all hues came with negative views, skeptic views and positive views about ranking as a rightful measure of institutional performance. So this is not a bureaucratic exercise where someone says, oh, this is truth, this is the truth. No, this is not the truth. Our institutions take things from a different perspective. Though statistically we have the measures out there that how the various genres of institutions have responded and how the various zones have responded. So they have a negative rejection, they have a skeptic exploration, and they have a positive acceptance as well. So we have tried to put the vivid views of the Indian higher education system on the ranking framework as a subjective exercise. There are stats over there for you to ponder over as well, that what are the dominant trends in this case. Very interestingly, placements, as it becomes a dominant priority, and in the executive summary what we say that placements do remain a very, very important factor across 73% of the institutions say that it is their dominant priority. But just see this infographic which is on page 34, I would take you through there. You can see that we have just put an infographic, it's a wealth of information. There is a structure, there is a process, there is a focus. We have just clustered the opinions of the campuses into this, and you will see, you can count that there are 49 distinct key strategies and methodologies which the campuses across the country are adopting for enhancing placements at their institutions. We try to do a knowledge content over here in structure and process and focus. So this is the wide diversity we have. And on the placement front, as I said, 73% of the institutions say that it is their dominant priority. Moving forward, infrastructure both in the conventional sense and both in the progressive sense, because the definitions are still not very, very standard or clear. So we use the word evolutionary impressions of infrastructure, and this you can watch it on page number 52. The evolutionary impressions of infrastructure as it is viewed by the Indian campuses. We try to cluster it into three as diverse views, as beyond academics, because they surpass more than the academic ones. Opening up a cafeteria for the students at large is probably the assessment. The last session was all distinctive about the aspect of research, the applied research, the appropriate research and the advanced research. We have quantized it all genre-wise and zone-wise out here. But as far as the generic comments about research, you can go to page number 42 of the report, where this infographic is out here. So the views about research are ranging from defensive, where institutions are saying that it comes later in the growth line of a campus, to very conventional views which have been in the bell curve you can see out there. Applied interventions, people have responded. Many of the institutions have really dirtied their hands, sullied their hands. They are not just talkers, they are doers, like our army personnel were talking about, that they have to do it. And they have shared their applications with us. There are progressive views as well, and certainly really appreciative, differentiated views on research as a dominant focus in institutional advancement. As far as institutional outreach is concerned, specifically the question was institutional outreach to prospective students. Now there are not many campuses, even in this quorum, we have got Dr. Puneet Suri, who has been visiting the globe across to really invite foreign students on her campuses, both in Greater Noida and in Baddi, in Himachal Pradesh. So institutions are really going through lots and lots of standard techniques of information dissemination, which you can see the whole graphics, from hoardings and billboards to magazines to social media to television to local advertising, posters and pamphlets. This is all graphically described by institutions. To engagement programs like active registrations, to school presentations. Campuses are going back into the supply chain of their students, right from class 9, right from the time to really awaken that you have an engineer in you or you have got that aptitude. Whatever marketing frenzies are there, but still there is a dominant thing. We don't have to be striving for a lack of interest in STEM, as Mr. Milton would corroborate that in America, specific initiatives are to be taken at the level of the President of United States, that the interest of the US kids is really falling apart in STEM, because that is the science and technology which is driving that nation, which has built up that nation in the last 300 years. So this is a good part for us, that our institutions are really going back to create that interest in engineering as a discipline, which will really take, and if all things are synergized for a while, we really can create wonders. And engaged interaction with parents. Some of the institutions are interacting with parents because they are the ones who are mentoring. So you name under the sun, and the innovations are there with the Indian campuses. So this report is really a culmination of all the strategies which others are doing, and you can pick up the pointers from here. Going forward, faculty, the role of faculty in institutional advancement. This was one of the most interesting thing, and it tops the national priority, because 85% of the institutions have admitted that it is their topmost priority, furthering the effectiveness of faculty. Now on this aspect also, we had the views from instant recognition of it, from engagement programs. Some of the campuses are really doing fabulous engagement programs with the faculty, giving them real empowerment. The views are in empowerment as well, that they are put up into administrative committees. They are put, a kind of a democratization has started happening in the institution, where faculty is really driving the future directionality of an academic institution. And there are expectations, existing expectations from the faculty, and also the understanding about their role. So it's quite a very interesting graph which will be of great enlightenment for you if you will go through it in greater detail. Moving forward, the salient emerging trends and how the campuses have really are really responding to that. The salient emerging trend in front of competition is at page 82. Where improving the student experience and employability, it ranks the highest in terms of the topmost priority of handling competition. And attracting and retaining quality faculty ranks number 2 as the dominant focus for wading off competition in the nearby vicinity, because student experience and faculty are the core 2 parameters which have emerged. And then accentuating research and consulting projects and accessing a broader base of students, then they rank again. And then adding the potential employer base ranks the last on the priority. And going forward, governance and compliance, because now there is a talk from moving from a regulation era of regulation to an era of accreditation. Declare yourself at what level you are, and accreditation will be granted at that level. So governance and compliance is getting stiff. There is a lot of focus on the ranking part of it, which will certainly have global image of the country into perspective. This graphic is on page 86 of the report. So record management system, getting a record management system well in place is the topmost priority across institutions. Many of you would have got the zonal abstract that many of the institutions are still using the manual paper-based mode of intercommunications. Now these are the administrative processes which really kill efficiency and agility to a great extent. So that is somewhere campuses are preparing themselves to. And creating seamless communication structures across academic and administrative departments is the number 2 priority which is emerging across. 71% of the institutions are saying, and 3% of them are considering to install it across. So there are candid confessions as well. People have not really gone out of the way, but they have really, in a very genuine academic manner. The beauty of this survey was that we never conducted it in a paper and pen mode. Though we published the whole booklet and we sent it across physically, and we had a digital version also, but we just caught hold of all our respondents on telephone. We said, sir, we just need 30 minutes of yours, whatever top of the mind recall comes to our questions, because we really want the top of the mind recall considerations of yours. And that way, the findings are really very authentic. Otherwise, it goes down the line, and then all the feeling good and looking like kind of responses do come. So when it's on the telephone, it's free flow, unbridled responses we have got. So that is the whole methodology we had adopted out here. And I would congratulate my colleague Ravi to devise this strategy for this wonderful work which has happened out here. So on the governance and compliance front, as in one of the forums, Mr. Milton had said. Pardon?
Where is he?
I think he would be in the arrangements with this government. So देवताओं का आरोहण केवल नाम बुलाने से हो जाता है, तो I just said let's just invoke his name. Funding allocation and utilization management. Ms. Milton was giving a case study that to the tune of 31% of the time and the energy of the research staff goes into those mundane bureaucratic filling the forms and all that stuff. They are not doing the research work in that 30% of their time. If that can be utilized, that goes with the faculty as well. And obviously creating a seamless content foundation. This is the latest thing, a content foundation that you use the same keywords, the same words across the spectrum. So that is also emerging trend which we could see across the Indian campuses. Institutional outcomes, like Colonel Bana was talking about, entrepreneurship, and our participants, our representatives from the armed forces were talking about. Campuses have different views about what the institutional outcomes should be, would be. People have different perspectives about it. You would like to go through it on page number 84. This is a very interesting infographic. If you can just go it through, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 circles. This is the wide variety of inputs we got from the Indian campuses. We had to cluster it into 9. If you just see research as an institutional outcome, but the shades of it. Research output, research publications, sponsored projects and R&D activities. So there is a content laying foundation, we are somewhere trying to do it. A kind of a taxonomy that how the Indian higher education system thinks. So, so on the student development front, people have different perspectives like overall development of students, student facilities, personality development programs, communication skills and sensibilities of students. So the opinions are diverse. It really goes through the entire spectrum in a very grand manner. So moving forward, delivery on the academic delivery forefront, because that's where the on-demand models are coming. That's where people, somewhere the suggestion was, we had in Chennai, one of the universities said that we don't want a 4-year BTech program, we just want a 2-year one, 1-year one. So hybrid models are coming, flexible terms are coming across. So the delivery forefront, on page number 80, if you can go, there are wide, the first dominant priority on delivery was curriculum optimization. 58% of the institutions admitted that curriculum optimization is certainly top on their priority, and student engagement initiatives, because current era mobile and social media, which is the concerns of all registrars and disciplinarians across, that's the biggest distraction problem. How the students can be engaged academically? वानर सेना तो है, पर उस वानर सेना को किसी एक महती कार्य में लगाया जाएगा, channelize करना पड़ेगा. That's the biggest challenge probably all the edu leaders and edupreneurs across are facing, because those 4 years of whatever opportunity they have got on the campus. So engaging them more and more and creating more learning opportunities for them. Flexible term again, then on-ground hybrid and online learning models. These are advanced concepts which have evolved in the United States and other European countries out there. And non-traditional education, like not going through the 4 years, like there was a mention in the panel, ki 1 year I am this engineer, second year I am this engineer. So all that kind of a flexibility to be provided out there. Last but not the least, information technology for institutional advancement. We had a whole session on technology. Can it be a trailblazer for? So there was an outright admittance that yes, technology has a great impact for institutional advancement. There were application-oriented views. Campuses are really trying and innovating in their own way. But is that's the core what institutions want to do? To really create, I would say, enterprise-grade softwares for themselves. Maybe that's a very specialized work. A library, we in our Campus Works initiative, we have traversed across the country. We found institutions who have developed their own library management systems. But then it contains only a set of the use cases. It's a great thing, students have done it. But for a professional library information management system, it really has to have the futuristic aspects into consideration as well. So application people have shared with us, and also the impact they have shared. Because this is a different perception they took it of all our questions. And some of the very off-the-mark remarks, some of the very advanced stuff people are trying across the country. It's very encouraging to see it all. Last but not least, in terms of increasing the operational efficiency, we just asked that how many people and what all levels are involved in top decision level making at different institutions. And we could get 20 distinct definitions across. So this is our corporate structure at our, I would say, intersection of it all across the country, from scrutiny council and academic council to head of centralized department. So lots and lots of governance level innovations are happening on the Indian campuses. The stats are there down there in your report further as to how and it's going across. Very interestingly, and I think dichotomically, revenue growth remains very low on the priority of Indian campuses. Though we are saying that we are self-financed institutions, largely the AICTE chairman on record said that we just have 500 odd government-funded institutions, and out of which only 250 odd are fully government-funded, and rest are just aided ones. So this means that the bulk of Indian higher education system is self-funded. But somehow the other, revenue growth as a top dominant priority. 46% of the institutions across the country said that it is not their dominant priority. So maybe according the status of an industry to higher education, to make it more responsible, more ROI oriented, there was a suggestion in the Higher Education Forum Pune to create a financing corporation for higher education, because where the next level of investments would come through. Because the first wave of investment came in terms of all the I would say liberal and generous contributions from the edupreneurs, but where it will come for the next league of growth, because investing in the future is vital and important. So here with this, This was a slight introduction.
Raghav,
Sir.
his recommendation of establishing a finance corporation for public funding, it can be very important. You can go to the finance
Sir.
minister, education minister,
Sir.
with the recommendation from some of the institutions.
Yeah.
You know, it should go. At
Sir.
least next to budget,
Sir.
you know, 16, 17, it should reflect.
Sir. Sure, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. We'll certainly take it forward. So with this was a quick, brief introduction of this 112-pager campus preparedness survey report. We deliberately have not chosen the tactic of making it a 300-pager by writing the analysis of it, because this is a time of infographics and graphics where we have all our team who got into the research and building of these forums, because that will be a real tribute to their great work which they have done for the last 100 days.